morning, and thank you for joining us for our Biophilic Minute. Today we have with us Dak Kopec. He is the Associate Professor at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and he is globally recognized for his work in human-focused design. He is passionate about helping others and helping others understand the importance of environmental design for human health. Thank you, Dak, for taking a minute to share with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I have a few questions for you. The first one is, what is the best advice you can give to improve well-being in a space?
The best advice that I can give you is to be as calm and as relaxed as possible within the environment itself.
Yeah, that's so important. And there's a lot of evidence that supports biophilic design. Can you share some of that with us?
Sure. So I first actually got involved with biophilic design when I did clinical hypnotherapy work, probably about 20 years ago or so. And I realized back then that a lot of the rhythmic movements, such as water falling or bubbles coming up from a fish tank, or even the rhythmic movement of leaves, bring about a theta waves within the brain. And theta waves is where you're able to have suggestions to whatever message that the clinical hypnotherapist is trying to help the patient deal with. So that's where I first became aware of it. And doing some research with regards to brain waves, I learned that a lot of the sights, the sounds, the smells, and the touches that are related to nature really do invoke a lot of the different levels of brainwaves, more specifically alpha and beta brainwaves. There's quite a bit of research that's on there, and I normally would cite my research. I can't really pronounce the names of the researchers, so maybe you can provide a link to some of these articles at the end of this presentation. But they're showing that access to nature and the natural environment actually helps with alpha and beta brainwaves. Alpha waves are the ones that are part of relaxation. So we tend to go into alpha waves when we're meditating, and beta is what we use when we're doing problem solving or we're thinking. So if we can create environments that will evoke those alpha and beta brainwaves, or even if we can create some of the situations that could start to bring about the theta waves, I think we can improve all of our environments.
Sure. Yeah, that's so true. What tips could you give people in the built environment to reduce stress and provide some more biophilic, a biophilic type environment?
Well, I think the first thing is that you have to look, listen, and feel. So we've got to take a moment to, quote unquote, smell the roses. We've got to go out into the natural environment, and we've got to start watching it. Watch how the natural environment moves. How does it sound and how does it feel? And then we have to say to ourselves, how is it that we can replicate some of those motions, some of those sounds into the built environment? By replicating things from the natural environment, we can start to bring in some of those elements that have a positive effect on brain waves. For example, nothing in nature is rectilinear. Everything is organic in its motion. So wavy patterns or rounds, those are all things that we would want to bring into the built environment. As we analyze the natural environment, we start to look for things that are wavy or rhythmic within nature. And that rhythm goes into the way that we feel the environment, the way we see the environment, and the way that we hear the environment. So if we can bring those elements within the built environment, we can start to bring about some of those different brain wave patterns so that people can be calmer and they can be more relaxed within any setting, whether it's healthcare, school, or even a legal setting where that can be extremely stressful.
That's so true. And that's something that we are definitely trying to keep working on here at Oli Creative, is creating film patterns that that do incorporate some of those types of patterns that are more soothing and are more like nature.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you start looking at some of your screensavers, whether it's on one of the televisions or whether it's on your computer screens. Even those types of motions, if they're slower and more rhythmic, it's going to have a positive effect. The key is not to make it sharp and abrupt and very angulated.
Yeah. So what types of natural patterns are you seeing a lot of now that you think are beneficial? Like, are they like leaves and trees, or are they more abstract, fractal-like patterns, or what are you seeing now that is helpful?
Well, I think it runs the gamut, and I think a lot of it has to do with budget. Really, when it comes down to it, the most cost effective are some of the wall panels that are wavy in texture and patterns, and then you can go for the more expensive or the more overt, such as large fish tanks. We used to see fish tanks in dental offices, and that was the reason. It's the bubbles and the rhythmic movement of the fish that were swimming around that those can be pretty costly to maintain. So we've been looking for other more cost-effective ways to do that. And one of those solutions could be living walls.
Sure. Yeah.
Living walls where they're kind of a little bit away from the ventilation system, but still get a little bit of the breeze will cause the leaves to move back and forth gently. And that's part of the rhythmic nature or the rhythmic things.
Yeah.
But there's also the dimensionality of the leaves. So, as it gets closer, you can see the brighter green. And then as it moves further back into the shadows, it gets darker. And we can even see that in your background with the trees. You can see that the ones that are closer up versus the ones that are further back. And that brings about a dimensionality that also helps with those brainwaves.
Nice. That's good to know. What about like artwork? What are you seeing with artwork that's helpful?
I think it depends on the environment itself. I mean, if you're looking at a healthcare environment, for example, you're going to be going for a more softer, more nature inspired, more of a Monet type of style of artwork. I think that when you start going into schools or educational settings, you're going to want that artwork to complement the education that the children or the young people are learning. So you might have something a little bit more authentic in its representation. For example, again, I look at your background, and there can be discussions about the clouds that are moving through the trees and the trees themselves. So you have that biophilic component behind you. But there's also that educational component that's bringing about the beta waves, which is the problem solving or the curiosity aspect.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. Yeah, that's really helpful. So I really appreciate you sharing these ideas with us, especially about the brain waves. That's not something that I've really thought about a lot before, but it's really helpful in understanding biophilic design and how to incorporate that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that we've got to take more lessons from nature, and we can't be taking it for granted because we really are part of nature. And there is a symbiotic relation between us and the natural world.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing again today. And for more biophilic moments like these, please visit our website at olicreative.com. Thank you.